Meeting is now recording.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anthony Hatcher. I am the acting executive director of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. Today is January 29th, 2021. The time is now 1 p.m. We are commencing the very first meeting of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission, and I will now introduce the members of the commission. First is Miss Elizabeth Betty J. Buck. And if you would acknowledge your presence after I mention your name so the notes taker can mark you down as present. Ms. Buck? You muted? Let's see if I can unmute her. I don't think I can. Bill, if you hear,
Jeff?
Is that you, Betty?
No, it's Rochelle Marty. I couldn't call in on I couldn't get the link to work to do a FaceTime call or whatever.
Okay, so Betty's.
I just texted Betty. Hopefully she'll get it and we'll unmute.
Okay. I know Betty was on a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Next is Leonard Foxwell. Lenny.
Here.
Eric Morizzetti.
Right here.
Robert H. Poole.
Robert H. Poole here.
Barbara Wall.
Here.
Okay, I also would like to introduce the non-voting members that are attending the commission that are also part of the commission, which would be from the Maryland State Police Chief of Staff, James Hawk. Is Mr. Hawk present? We'll check back later and see if he's logged in. Also, Ms. Kathleen Robert Franklin, the Director of Service Access and Practice Initiatives, Behavioral Health Administration with the Maryland Department of Health.
Good afternoon. I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I declare that there is a quorum present for the commission to conduct business today.
Yes, sir. This is Jim Hawk. I'm sorry, I was having trouble unmuting myself. I'm here on behalf of the state police.
Thank you, Mr. Hawk. Also present is Murray Singerman, who's the Assistant Attorney General, who is appointed to assist the commission in its functions.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Also, Carl Fogan, who is the employee of the Field Enforcement Division of the ATC, who has been assigned to take the notes for this meeting. She will not be able to acknowledge. She is muted, but she is online. Also, Mr. Jeff Kelly is present as a director of the Field Enforcement Bureau.
Hello.
And I see he is also online with us at the moment.
Did that work to unmute?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, Betty. Hi.
There's Betty. Okay, a little background as to the formation of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. It became live January 1st of 2021, but was not staffed until January 20th of 2021 when I came on board as the acting executive director of the commission. We are in a position of transition. A website is being developed for the commission to be able to post information about its activities. We are in a process of transitioning personnel. We've got 27 pins assigned to the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission at this point. And we're proceeding further to get the necessary means in which to do the processing of licensing and enforcement and everything else that the field enforcement unit did under the controller's office, which will now be taken and endeavored by the field enforcement division of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. And that's where the importance of the MOU that is being presented to the commission comes in. Without that MOU being signed and put in force, we are at a standstill on conducting the normal daily business of licensing and other issues that the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission and the Controller's Office do on a daily basis to keep the industry functioning properly. At this time, I would like to defer to the members of the commission amongst themselves to take their vote on a chair for the commission to function. And at that point, after the election of the chair, I will leave it to the chair to perform the function of electing the additional officers, such as vice chair, secretary, and also the appointment of a member of the commission that will be taking the required training for the Open Meetings Act. So at this point in time, I will leave this up to the commission and let them proceed with taking the vote.
I would like to go ahead and nominate Len Foxwell for consideration for chair.
I second the motion.
And if I'm sorry if I didn't say, as you make any statements or so, please identify yourself so our minutes taker can identify who is making that statement.
That was Barbara Wall.
Is there a second to that motion?
Robert Poole, I would like to second that motion as well.
Any objections?
No.
Nope.
Okay, then as it stands right now, Mr. Foxwell has been elected to the chair of the commission. Mr. Foxwell, if you would proceed with the other members for the election of other officers.
Thank you, Tony, and thanks to each of my colleagues for your confidence in me to carry out this important transitional function. At this time, I would like to open the floor for nominations for the position of vice chair.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Robert Poole, I would like to nominate Barbara Wall as vice chair.
Okay, so noted.
Second. Betty Buck, seconded.
Any objections? Okay, the motion seconded is for Barbara Wall to assume the position of vice chairwoman of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Congratulations, Barbara. You are the vice chair of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission.
Thank you.
Our next executive position will be for that of secretary, and I'd like to open the floor for nominations to that position.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Bob Poole for that position as secretary. It's Betty Buck.
Eric, I'll second that.
Okay. The motion as seconded is for Robert Poole to serve as secretary of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. Any other nominations? Any objections? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Congratulations, Rob. You are the secretary, and the daylight has shown in at just in time. We can see you. So now you are truly functioning. And now you just went back
Now
behind
you're
the
shadows again.
Well, I feel like I just hit the lottery, so thank you.
It was a brief blast of transparency and sunlight. I hope that's not a metaphor for how our commission goes about its work. The last assignment that we will distribute today is for a member of this commission to participate in the mandatory Open Meetings Act training as required under the statute. And I'm gonna at this point, I'd like to pose a question to council. I assume that we need a minimum of one, but there's no maximum how many people we can designate to participate in this training. Is that correct, Mr. Singleton?
That is correct, and conceivably, the more the merrier. We want to do our best to comply with it.
I would agree to comply with not only the letter, but with the spirit of the legislation. I will volunteer myself, if that's appropriate, to participate in this training. And I'd like to open the floor for any other volunteers who would like to attend as well.
I'd be happy to participate. Eric here.
Okay, so that's Chair and Mr. Morissette. And a point of privilege, Eric, is it Morissette or Morissetti?
Morissette.
Morissette. Got it.
As as counsel, I would like to chime in here, and I want to, if I missed something, I would ask you to correct me. I might have blinked. I do not believe there was an actual vote taken to appoint Len as the chair. I think there was no objections to the motion, and I don't think it undermines anything else that we've done, but I think it would be prudent just to take a vote and ensure that that was done.
Okay, so if the members of the commission could stand again, the selection of Len Foxwell as the chair. If I gotta have a vote by name of each member to confirm that, please.
This is Barbara. Aye.
Betty Buck, aye.
Robert Poole, aye.
This is Eric. Aye.
Len, aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I don't know if this requires an actual vote, Mr. Singerman, but we have 2 volunteers who have agreed to take the required Open Meetings Act training. If we need to take a vote, we'll do so. If not, we'll just go ahead.
I don't think you have to take a vote on that. I think the chair can appoint, and I think you're fine with that.
Okay, so we'll get the details on the timing and how we participate in the Open Meetings Act. Mr. Hatcher, if you can provide us with that at your convenience, we'll make sure we get that scheduled, and we'll get that box duly checked.
Right. I will find the appropriate links for that training, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Singerman, but I believe the Attorney General's office has a website where they offer that training.
Yeah, they have an online training. There's also very helpful checklists there and summaries of the law that I recommend if you can take a look at.
Okay, and that's what I would forward to you guys once we have that link, and I will make sure you get it.
Wonderful. Okay, so hearing no other comments on the appointment of the election of officers and the appointment of duties, I'm going to turn the floor over to Tony, because our next item of business is to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Comptroller of Maryland, the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission, and Tony as the executive director. So Tony, if you could just walk us through the basic principles and intent, and then we can take a vote to approve or to debate.
Great. The MOU, which was sent to all members, allows for the sharing of information, the sharing of responsibilities and authority to enforce the laws as they were enforced prior to January 1 of 2021. The MOU gives equal authority to the Field Enforcement Division agents as it does to the Field Enforcement Bureau agents under the Controller's Office. As of January 1st, the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission became an entity, an agency within the state. All authority dealing with the licensing, enforcement, and regulations of alcohol and tobacco in the state of Maryland transferred to the authority of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. With that being done, the Controller's Office no longer had the authority to issue licenses, to perform any enforcement functions, without getting authority from the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission, and without that MOU in place, everything's at a standstill. So it's a very urgent matter for the commission to consider the MOU as it is written and approve that MOU so that we can start processing license applications and performing the enforcement functions of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission as written in the law in conjunction with the members of the Field Enforcement Bureau of the Controller's Office. This will also make a seamless transition for industry members who are used to doing things a certain way and in dealing with the controller a certain way, knowing how they would be handled, which is now being handled by the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. I'd like to say, and I thank Mr. Kelly for bringing me on board with this. We both have worked extensively for over 18 years when I was with the Field Enforcement Division. I was there for 20 years, and we have a very good working relationship. And under this MOU, I know we will make sure the transition between the two agencies is a seamless transmission for the industry, as well as to the local liquor boards that are involved. A few may be online with us today. So I would again encourage the commission, if you have any questions, I am here to answer, and so is Jeff Kelly. But to vote on this MOU, pass it through so we can get it signed and put everybody back to work and get things functioning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. At this point, I'd like to ask my colleagues if there are any questions about the MOU, and please speak up, because this is the foundational document that will govern not only the body of work of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission, but also the division of labor between the new ATC and the Office of the Comptroller, which until January 1 of this year was responsible for the regulation of alcohol, tobacco, and motor fuel. Those responsibilities have, as a result of law, been subdivided so that the Comptroller's office will now regulate the motor fuel industry, whereas the relationship with the alcohol and tobacco industries now falls to the ATC. So it's a lot to digest. Please don't be shy. Ask any questions if you need any points of clarification or need more information.
Len, I just wanted to, if I could just point out that this current MOU has a term of 6 months. So the idea behind that is to give Tony enough room to establish and work, and then the lessons we learn from it, we can improve on. We can certainly make changes as it comes down the road. And then the other thing I just wanted to underscore, as Tony was describing, is the efficiency that this will bring to the undertaking of enforcing the law, so that working cooperatively, we don't have to double up in terms of enforcement.
And avoiding duplication of effort. And just for the record, in case there are people who may be logging in and watching this afternoon's proceedings and may not know the history, 27 positions have been moved from the Comptroller's office to the ATC, but physically, those employees, the occupants of those pins, have not been physically moved. They are still in the same space. Am I correct?
You're correct. The plan at this point is that no change of the infrastructure will take place. All employees that work with the Comptroller's Field Enforcement Division, which is now the Field Enforcement Bureau, remain in their same office space. And that will continue on at this point.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question.
Please, Mr. Poole.
Robert Poole. I have read the MOU. I understand the MOU, but I wanted to ask Mr. Singerman if he also concurs with the wording of the MOU.
Yes, it's been reviewed extensively by numerous attorneys, by several attorneys, by at least 3 in our office, and been discussed with the Attorney General's office as well.
Copy that, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the MOU as it has been submitted this afternoon?
I move to approve the MOU. This is Betty Buck.
This is Robert Poole. I second the motion.
Motion made by Ms. Buck, seconded by Mr. Poole. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the MOU is approved. Thanks very much to Tony and to Murray for your work, as well as to, I assume it was Mr. Oliver from the Comptroller's legal staff who participated in the construction of the document as well. If there are others that I should acknowledge, I'm happy to do so, but thanks to each of you for your work in getting this done so we can resume with the business of state.
This is
I
Brian.
just would like to.
It was Renee Nicolelli who put in all the hard work.
Is Renee on the call today, Brian?
I don't believe so. She has some other engagement she had to take care of.
Brian, as a point of personal privilege, it's great to hear your voice again, sir.
Same here, Len.
Thank you. Okay, so that concludes the official. I guess we have one more item of official business, which is to set a regular meeting schedule. And I've had some early conversations with Tony and with Murray. I haven't had a chance to speak about this with each of you because we didn't have a chairperson as of this time yesterday, but I'm going to throw out a date and a time for our monthly meetings. And just as for the record, we are required to have monthly meetings under the law. And I'm going to suggest that our monthly meeting be held on the third Thursday of February. And I'm going to suggest a time of 3 o'clock. And I suggest that simply because it's a time that is late in the day, on a day that is late in the week, and hopefully that will be more convenient than inconvenient for most of you. Do we have any other suggestions?
Would it be possible just to push it to Friday? I work on the Hill, and most of the times hearings are still going on, and members are usually flying out or out by Friday, or flying in on Monday. So either Monday or Friday would probably be better for me. I don't want to, but if that's the best time for other folks, I don't want to inconvenience people, and I'll accommodate.
Eric, I for one would have no problem with Friday. I'll throw this open to my colleagues.
How about
I would
Monday?
ask that
Fridays
you-
are hard.
Okay.
I do have a question. It's hard to foresee my calendar into the future. However, I would also like to propose that we set that date. However, if something is in conflict, we consult with each other, make a redetermination, and reset the date.
I agree with that.
I will
Okay.
also indicate to the members, until such time as we get a website up and running, it is being worked on. The issue we have at this point, we're waiting for approval from the federal government for the creation of the URL address we require. And request has been made to the chief information officer for the governor's office to send a notarized letter requesting that URL be approved. We don't know the timeline on how long it's going to take to have that accomplished. So we will need at least 3 days notice so I can get advertising out to the appropriate newspaper for general circulation until that website is up and running.
As the attorney, I think it'll be the first time that we disagree, Tony. I have to say this.
Okay, go right ahead.
3 days is a short period of time. It is legally possible, but the Open Meetings Act requires reasonable notice. The shorter the period of time, the more widely you have to put out the notice. So I would say if we could at least have 7 days lead time, then we don't have to kill ourselves trying to make sure we push this out.
That's fine.
And I would concur with that, Murray. I think that, putting aside what is legally permissible, I think that in order to operate with the spirit of transparency and open access, we need to give ourselves as much lead time as possible to inform the public. Circling back to the date and time, we have a couple of options now. I've suggested Thursday. Eric has suggested Friday. Friday is difficult.
Friday or Monday.
I may understand it.
Sorry about that. Friday or Monday, but if the consensus is really for Thursday at 3, and if it works for everyone else, we can make it work and just work going forward on scheduling.
Okay, I'm gonna take out Friday, and I'm gonna ask for a show of hands. 2 options. One is on Monday at 3 o'clock. The other option that's been suggested is Thursday at 3 o'clock. Who would prefer Monday at 3 o'clock?
I can do either. This is Barbara.
Okay.
Yeah, can we put 2 hands up to show that we don't care?
How about this? I think Thursday at 3 will be just fine, and going forward we'll just work it on out.
We'll try to integrate you in, Eric, and if there are any issues, if it becomes unsustainable, there's nothing etched in the law here. We can certainly make adjustments as we go along. Do we have consensus on Thursday at 3 o'clock?
Yes.
Being the date and time for the next meeting. I'm assuming that we will still be meeting remotely at that time. Murray and Tony, if we ever do return to some semblance of normal, where would this commission conduct its meetings? Would it be in the Treasury building?
I would have to assume, since this is where we are housed, that the conference room on the first floor of the Treasury Building would probably be the place in which we would hold a in-person meeting. Based upon COVID regulations at the time, and we want to have an in-person meeting. But until that occurs, of course, we will be in a virtual setting.
I think that's a pretty safe assumption. Okay, so the next meeting will be, if my calendar is right, Thursday, the 18th of February?
Yeah.
Okay. That concludes the official portion of this meeting. I would like to open the floor for any comments, thoughts, questions.
Just one request. If there, I guess the way this should flow is if the members have agenda items, or through Tony or through Len, one of the requirements of the Open Meeting Act is to publicize the agenda as well. So the quicker you can pass on your thoughts with regard to what you think might need to be on the agenda, then the better that'll help us to publicize this.
So Murray, if our goal for, let's say, let's use February 18 as the example, if our goal would be to publish an agenda or publish the notice of the meeting by, say, no later than the 11th, so 7 days out. Under best practice, when should we have agenda, at least a preliminary agenda, recognizing that we can always make adjustments after the agenda has been published, because things do happen.
Well, the answer to your question, I say if we could shoot as a date for, I mean, Tony can chime in, but Monday the 8th, and try and pull the agenda together by then.
Okay. Okay. And then again, I just want to make sure that we reserve the privilege and right to make adjustments as issues arise and as circumstances require. I mean, I'm happy to publish an agenda that far out, recognizing that at times we'll have to make modifications and bring supplemental items to the commission meeting.
Let me ask Murray, if I can, once we publish the agenda, it goes out in paper form, so there's no way, unless we do another publication, to.
I think you'd have to republicize, because you can't change the agenda without publicizing it. I mean, you can't handle it at the meeting unless you've publicized it.
Yeah, until we get an electronic format as our website to be able to post that kind of information, we would have to do another advertisement.
Okay. It's good insight. Murray, Tony, thank you. Okay.
Mr. Foxwell, this is Bill O'Leary. There is a question from Mr. Walcott in meeting chat. The question is, where will these meeting video documents be stored to view at a later time? And I guess I can actually sort of answer that, and that is that we're still working on that. And I will get with Tony, and hopefully that will kind of be in conjunction with getting a new website stood up.
So
may I make a suggestion that because I mean, while we're waiting on the website, I mean, these are still public transactions, and I would suggest that since the Maryland Comptroller's Office does have fully functioning technology, at least for the moment, that the Comptroller's Office be the platform that that houses documents pertinent to the ATC.
So there is a requirement. There's a legal requirement to put minutes out as soon as reasonably possible. That's the only legal requirement. The board will have to address at a later date whether it intends to use the recording from Zoom as the minutes or in conjunction with the minutes. But I think in answer to Mr. Walcott's question, if he would like access to the minutes, by law, we will provide that. And then with regard to archiving, I don't want to speak for Tony, but I believe the idea was to archive these on the website once we get them. But before that happens, we certainly can make, my point is we can make the minutes available.
And what I'm suggesting is just for the public to have access to relevant documents. Why don't we at least make them available on the Maryland Comptroller's website, as long as there is some, recognition that it's a separate agency of government, albeit a sister agency. Again, I don't want to get lost in the weeds here. but I also want to operate with the utmost transparency. You want to get back to me on that, Tony?
Bill, let me ask you a question. Is it possible to incorporate a link in field enforcement's website?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Sure.
And thanks to Mr. Wolcott for the time and question. Any other questions, comments from the board?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, there's a couple of follow-up questions in the chat. Another one from Mr. Wolcott. Also, will public comment be made available?
Public comment will be available, and I've had this conversation. We had this conversation at the outset. Public comment will be available at the discretion of the commission and the chair with the concurrence of the full board.
Okay, and then another question, where can we obtain information on committee membership?
So I'm going to defer to Murray and to Tony here, but first we will, as a commission, as a fully functioning commission, our information should appear sooner, if not immediately, in the Maryland Manual online, and they will appear in the minutes of this meeting, and then ultimately they will be listed on the ATC's website. Do we have a time frame, incidentally, for the construction and activation of the website?
I can defer to Bill only to say that it has been somewhat developed. Like I said, the URL is pending. Bill, if you have anything else?
I can get with Todd London and get back to you on the progress of the website. I have not heard anything about my request to the state CIO's office about the registration of the .gov domain name, which incidentally is mdatc.gov.
Okay. So we don't. So in other words, what I'm hearing is we don't have a timeline nailed down at this point.
Not currently, no.
Okay. I think that makes it even more imperative to warehouse any documents pertinent to the ATC on the Field Enforcement Division's website. And I'm going to ask that Mr. Hatcher and Mr. Singerman keep us apprised of our progress in getting those documents stored appropriately.
As soon as we have the information on where they will be stored, I will make sure all members of the commission are given that URL address or the information on how to connect into that information is sent to you.
Okay, terrific. Just as a point of personal privilege, I just want to emphasize right at the outset, again, and saluting Tony and Murray for their work, and really everyone within the Field Enforcement Division, both those who remain in the Field Enforcement Division, as well as the 27 staff members who have been moved over to the ATC. I just want to personally recognize them for their exceptional elite service. This is whether they are under the banner of one bureaucratic heading or another bureaucratic heading, it's immaterial, because, you know, wherever they're housed, however they're described, this is the most effective enforcement unit in any of the 50 states of America. It is an exceptional group. They are elite. And I see this commission as an opportunity to support their work, provide them with the resources and the backing they need to continue carrying out their job to the best of their ability, and to balance the interests and the protections of our consumers, our families and children, and our small businesses. So it's important work. I'm grateful to each of you for your willingness to serve. Tony and Murray, Brian, everyone else who's involved in the effort, thank you so much for your work. It's going to be a pleasure to serve and to collaborate with each of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing no other questions or comments, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Betty Buck.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We'll see each of you on the 18th, and we will, before then, we will send out a request for agenda items, and I'm sure we'll be talking individually well in advance. Thank you all and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody, thank you for your help.